All right, hi, welcome to Team 2220 Safety Basics. So starting off, general shop safety. You always have to wear safety glasses in the shop and pit. Even if you're not using a tool, just being in the shop, there's always a risk of something going in your eye or something happening like that. So make sure you're wearing your safety glasses in the shop or the pit. Closed-toed shoes, that's just preventing things from falling off the table and hitting your foot. So just extra precautions on that. Very important when using machinery to tie back long hair. You don't want the hair getting caught in like a drill bit or something like that because that would suck you into the tool. That kind of goes the same thing with no loose clothing. Any kind of sweatshirts that have strings hanging down from them can get caught in drill bits very easily as well. You have to use gloves and hearing protection if necessary, like dealing with sheet metal. It's very important to wear gloves like these. It just prevents your hands from getting scratched up. And then hearing protection for very loud machinery, anything over 90 decibels. No running and no horseplay in the shops. Even if it's something very important, make sure you're not running across the shop because someone could be turning with a power tool, going from one table to the next. And that kind of goes with horseplay is the same. I mean, there should be no horseplay at all on the team. And then part of safety as well is being able to recognize a situation where if something is unsafe, you can stop that situation and be able to fix it. Next is PPE, or personal protective equipment. So these are things that would go on you physically. Things like safety glasses and gloves and respirators and such. So safety glasses, like we said, in the workshop pits, playing in practice fields. Anywhere where there's driving of the robot, tools being used, anything like that, just as a safety precaution. And then, like I said, gloves, hearing protection, respiratory, so a respirator would look something like this. It has a metal ring on the top here, that's what forms over your nose, and then the two strings would go around and hook around the back of your head. And then lastly is a welding helmet, in case you're doing any kind of welding. So basic safety equipment we have a fire extinguisher, first aid kit, and battery spill kit. So our battery spill kit looks like this. It has things like splash goggles, paper towels, Ziploc bags, gloves, and then baking soda, as well as electrical tape. And then we also have the first aid kits, which we have on our robot cart, safety cabinet, and in all the shops that we use. Underneath all the safety or the first aid kits is a sheet that we write down all incidents. It's the incident report sheet. So anything that happens to you or almost happened to you, like if you almost tripped over something or something almost fell onto you, we want to fix that situation. So that kind of goes into the safety documentation and records. So we have the first safety manual that every single team member will read and go through, and then we have a piece of paper that we sign for that as well, acknowledging that you read through it. As well as the MSDS, so that's for chemicals, and then this year's the new SDS, which we're just taking out the material part of it. And then we have the safety training records, so we know who's been trained on the team, what they've been trained in, and what date they've been trained on it. As well as, like I said, the incident reporting sheet. I already talked about that. Just anything that happens to you should be written down so it won't happen again. And then lastly is the safety checklist. So that's a checklist that is given to mechanical leads and electronical leads. They go through and they check all the tools to make sure they're in working proper condition. And that just kind of ensures safety, that making sure all the tools are properly usable. So hand tools, it's very important using the right tool for the job. Don't use a wrench as a hammer, obviously. Make sure to get training on the tool properly. We have trainings at the beginning of each season to make sure every single student is trained properly. And obviously don't use the tool if it's broken. It could obviously cause you more harm than good using a broken tool. Work on a stable surface. You can't be pounding a nail on a piece of wood with you holding it. And then watch out for sharp edges. That kind of goes back to wearing gloves when dealing with sheet metal. And then don't let other use tools improperly either, because that's part of the training as well, as like I said, to make sure you can recognize a situation that's unsafe. And then kind of same goes with power tools. You always have to have a mentor present. Make sure you're using the right tool for the job again. Get training. And probably the biggest things with using tools is don't let yourself get distracted. If someone asks you, hey, what's the English homework for tonight? Finish what you're doing, turn off the power tool, and you can turn around and talk to that person. And then that kind of goes along with don't be the person who's distracting. Don't be playing loud music. Don't be bumping into them. Let them have their nice workspace. And then kind of like I talked about before, don't leave the tool running, because you don't want to come up to a tool and have it possibly still be on. And then don't let other people use tools improperly either. Again, being able to see that situation, be able to address it. For the robot, always have to make sure it's turned off before working on it. And then you can't be working on it in an unstable situation, like you can't have two people holding it up and then you working on it. Just make sure you put it on some kind of stable surface when working on it. Release any compressed air, turn off the robot. Other sources of energy, that means even like stuff like pneumatics and stuff like that. Any kind of potential energy in the robot can be dangerous to people working on it. And then alert people when turning on the robot. Be able to surround or announce that you're turning it on is very important as well to assure no injury there. And then don't drive too close to people. They are very heavy robots that can cause lots of damage, so make sure people are staying back from when you're driving. And then lastly, like I said, notify people before enabling. So batteries. So it's very important when dealing with the battery to pick it up with two hands at all time. These contain a very strong acid, which is very dangerous if you get it on your skin, your eyes, or if you even ingest it. One thing that's very important is to make sure that each connector hub is properly wired and there's no fraying in the cable. You never want to carry a battery by its wires. It looks tempting, but that will tear off the wires as well. And then just make sure that the battery doesn't look like it's bloated. That could mean that the battery isn't in working condition. Make sure that if you drop it and it doesn't crack, it could still be damaged, so make sure you look for that. And that kind of goes in with battery spills as well. So that's in the MSDS/SDS, where I talked about this earlier. It has things like splash-proof goggles, gloves, and baking soda. If a battery spill does occur, make sure you let a mentor or safety captain know immediately, and then if needed, get medical assistance. So lifting the robot. Make sure no one's working on the robot, make sure the robot's turned off. It's very important to have good body mechanics when lifting a robot because they're very heavy in previous years. So making sure that you have a proper foothold, as well as handhold. You always have to be wearing gloves when lifting a robot, and then communications is also huge when lifting the robot. Make sure you don't twist with your torso. Make sure you move your feet instead, because that can cause back problems. And then lift with your legs, not your back. Make sure when you bend down, your torso's vertical during the lift. And then shop rules. Like we said, no running, no horseplay. It's not allowed at any time. You can't throw anything, obviously. You can't use equipment that you're not trained for, because that just causes an unsafe situation. You always have to be using the appropriate personal protective equipment. And then gracious professionalism. Respect other people as well as the mentors. If the mentors are telling you using the tool inappropriately, make sure you're listening to them and taking their advice. So competition. So we like to keep our pit very clean and very organized. It just helps for a safer environment there as well. We also have safety documentation, safety equipment. Even on our robot cart, we like to have we have a fire extinguisher, a first aid kit, anything that might happen to the robot we can deal with at any point in time. And then make sure we always have a cell phone. In case you get lost, it's very easy to call someone and they can direct you to where you need to be. And then that kind of plays in with the buddy system as well. Always travel with someone else. This is going to help prevent you getting lost or you getting yourself into a sticky situation. And then we check in with mentors every 30 minutes to an hour, just to make sure you're doing all right, make sure you're doing the things you need to be doing. And then just respect others. That kind of goes into the gracious professionalism as well. And then help others. If you see someone drop something, go help them out with it. I'd hope that if you did that and someone helped you, you'd feel grateful as well. And then probably the biggest thing is when moving a robot from point A to point B, it's always important to have someone as the lead of the robot. So they'd be wearing a vest like this, very bright, very reflective. So they'd be in front of the robot, clearing a pathway, making sure that there is a path for the robot to go, and then announcing robot, allowing people to know when you're taking a corner, they know, okay, a robot's coming around this corner. All right, and thank you for watching.